morning. Welcome everybody to the Salesforce Sydney Tower. It's great to have you all here today. And thank you, Marsha, for the introduction. And also, I want to wish everyone a happy International Women's Day and all the accomplished women in our room today. So let's give a round of applause. I wish my wife was here to hear me say that, but she's coming later this afternoon. I want to begin by acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation on whose lands we are on. I acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. In doing so, I also want to acknowledge the Indigenous Armenian population of Artsakh who were forcibly removed from their homes. And I hope they have the opportunity to return to their homeland, and I encourage you to, if you have a chance, to purchase the crafts made by the people from Artsakh outside who are resettling at the moment. And congratulations, Seda, for organising today. Well done. And we're very pleased that FemInno has chosen Sydney to be your second satellite event. I hope you get to all enjoy the views outside. FemInno is a wonderful organisation, the only one of its kind in Armenia and the region, and gives great opportunities for women and leadership. So well done on your work. So a round of applause for those all. I also want to thank some of the people who have helped with today's organisations, the employees of Armenia Force, Harry, Saro, Hermine couldn't be with us in Melbourne, John Bunyan from London has also helped with us. And I also want to thank people from the employees behind the scenes, Jared doing the audio today, thank you Jared, Marta from our real estate team, and the many Salesforce volunteers as well. So thank you for making this event possible. Being International Women's Day, I think it's also important to reflect some of the achievements Armenian women have made around the globe. We shouldn't forget the first female ambassador in the world was Diana Apgar, who was Armenia's ambassador to Japan during Armenia's first republic. In our own city of Sydney and the state of New South Wales, the first ever elected woman to the Premier of New South Wales was Gladys Berejiklian, who of course is Armenian. We're very proud of her heritage. But that said, Armenia faces very many challenges. If we look at the latest Global Gender Gap report for 2023, Armenia ranks 61 out of 146 countries globally for gender equality. And that's why organisations like FemInno is so important to close that gap. And we all know, and I don't have to say it to this audience, having women in leadership and having a diverse workforce and diverse leadership is not only important for diversity, but it's good for business. Every study you look at, if there's diversity, particularly diversity of women in leadership positions, that business tends to do better than not. So with that, I just want maybe to spend a few minutes talking about a topic that I don't normally talk about. So today I'm going to talk to you about corporate social responsibility. That's not my profession. My profession is government, public policy, and that's kind of my background, and working for technology companies, which I happen to bump in quite by accident. But nevertheless, I want to talk to you about that, but I want to talk to you in an Armenian context. And if you're not Armenian, that's okay. Your context, whatever your background is, it's still important. So there's three topics I want to cover today. Who is Salesforce and who is Armenia Force? What equality means at our company, and what you can do in your organisation. So to start off with, I won't give you a very long history of Salesforce, that will take too long, but we are celebrating our 25th anniversary. We were established in 1999 as a cloud-based software company, and we're a software enterprise platform. And some of our products include Slack, MuleSoft and Tableau. And we've got 5 key values in our company, number 1 being trust. But another important value for us is equality. And that's one of the reasons why we're supporting this event today. Since our inception, we've adapted to what's called a 1-1-1 model, where 1% of our equity, our employee time, and also our equity is donated to charities across the globe. So we come with that type of value mindset as an organisation, and this might explain to you why we do certain things in this organisation as well. So what is Armenia Force? What is Armenia Force? Has anyone heard of Armenia Force before today? You raise your hand. 3 people, 4, okay. All right, so I should explain to you who we are. So we're a network of Armenian employees around the world to provide a network and also to work together on issues that is important to us. And to just give you a snapshot where we're located, at our peak we had about 100 people around the world. We're around more than 80, but we're spread across all over the globe. And Armenia Force came by quite accident. In fact, Sarah and I think it was back in 2018, we were randomly going through, I think like many Armenians, we were randomly going through their employee list to find where the Armenians were. Like this, like the movies, we look at the credits and see if there's an Armenian there. So we went through the employee list, you know, who works here? We started creating a group, and over time, people started finding us within the company. So when they joined, they would go into our Slack, they search Armenia, and they find our group pop up. So that's how it started, and we've kind of moved on from there. But there's another also interesting history, the Armenian connection between Salesforce and Armenians and women. I'm not sure many people would know this, but Salesforce's first investor and founding board member was a woman named Magdalena Yesil. Magdalena is a Borsahai. She's from Turkey. She migrated to the United States in 1976. She now is a very successful entrepreneur, a venture capitalist in her own right, and she's written a book called Power Up: How Smart Women Win in the New Economy, which if you haven't read it, I'd encourage you to read. It's a fascinating read. In fact, she was one of our guests as well previously as part of Armenia Force. And that just shows you the connections we have as a company to Armenians. So moving on, in terms of Armenia Force, this slide also explains what we do. We have a vision, which we try to achieve, and we also do a lot of different activities to try and meet our vision. One of the activities is today's event, but we also do other things. And I'll give you some examples what we've done so far as a group. What we've tried to do is, as a group, we've tried to see how we can have an impact within our community. Our community could include students, it could include the Armenian government, it could include businesses or Salesforce-related businesses in Armenia, and it could also include philanthropy. So just some of the activities we have done as a group have been, for example, we organised a meeting with our chief scientist to meet with Armenia's IT minister. We've hosted Armenian students on STEM-related issues at our facility. We've hosted Armenian startups, high-tech, at our headquarters in San Francisco. We've had a number of different guest speakers. I mentioned Magdalena as one. Vahet Torosyan was another one, who's an ex-Microsoft corporate vice president, who actually set up Microsoft in Armenia, which we got a lot of insights. Another guest speaker was Vahet Kozoyan, who is the co-founder of Service Titan, a company that's valued more than $10 billion and will probably go to an initial public offering this year as a company. We've had people like Simon Marakian speaking about the loss of Armenian indigenous monuments in Nakhichevan and Artsakh. And you ask, why would that be relevant for an IT company? Well, we did that event in conjunction with a group called WinForce, which represents the Worldwide Indigenous Network for Diversity. And Armenians, as we all know, are indigenous peoples to their lands. So we do have a connection on that issue as well. And I'll talk to you about some of the equality groups we have as well. Some of the other things we've done is as well, as a group, we issue a statement on April 24 during the Armenian genocide commemoration to remind employees what happened in the past, and we often will do it with a personal connection, how we were impacted through our families. And we do that to share awareness among our employees. But I think that one of the biggest impacts we've had as a group, which I'll go to next, is some of the work we're doing in philanthropy. So I mentioned that as a company, we donate 1% of our funds to non-profits. And we also have, like many corporate companies, we have an employee matching program, which caps at US $5,000 a year for employees. During the past several years, Salesforce has matched to the tune of somewhere around $112,000 of employee matching USD to Armenian-based organisations. And if you take that collectively to what employees have given, that's almost $250,000 in US that we've donated to different Armenian organisations. But that happened. One interesting story I'll give is a lot of the philanthropy efforts peaked during the Artsakh War of 2020, where there was a massive humanitarian need in Armenia at that time. So at that time, there was obviously a worldwide campaign to provide funds for the All Armenia Fund, which a lot of our employees donated to, and many others during that period of time. But the All Armenian Fund wasn't set up as a charity status organisation at the time. So our employees mobilised very quickly. We made sure they were registered as a charity to our platform, so we could then be able to provide donation matching in that period. And I think we've mentioned that most of the funds that we raised during that time is in that top corner there, and that was peaking during the Artsakh War. So that's some of the things we've done from Armenia Force as a employee group, and we continue to do a lot of work, and we're fortunate to work in a company that actually encourages people to be themselves and to be able to support causes that's important to them. And we have taken that opportunity to do that work within Salesforce. I briefly mentioned about equality and how it's one of our values. We have in our company 13 employee groups to promote awareness and drive equality in different areas. So some of the images you see on your screen represent different groups. So there's groups like Outforce that helps the LGBT community, GenForce for intergenerational community, FaithForce on matters relating to faith, VetForce for military veterans, Ability Force, people with a disability, Earth Force on sustainability issues. I mentioned to you the Worldwide Indigenous Network for Diversity. And there's other community groups. Armenia Force is not there. We're not large enough to be an equality group within the company, but we are definitely a group within the company. We're about 70,000 employees, so it's a big workforce. But one other element we have been trying to campaign for within the company is the idea of self-identification. And what do I mean by self-identification is that if you work in a workforce, in Australia you have to report on, for example, gender, what proportion of your workforce is a particular gender. And in some countries like the United States, you have to there's legislative requirements that if you're Hispanic or African American background or certain other groups, they're measured. But actually our group, our ethnicity is actually not measured. We don't appear in any figure, and we're not measured if we reach leadership positions. That measurement is not measured from a diversity background. So we've actually, one of the things we have done is actually campaign internally to have self-identification as an optional choice for all employees so they can be measured. And this is also important from other aspects, Indigenous background, you could have a disability, you could have other things as well. But that notion of being able to opt in to provide that option is something we're campaigning for, and we hope it will be resolved very soon. We know that work is underway in that space. Our biggest equality group in Salesforce is the Salesforce Women's Network, the W that you can see on your screen there. In fact, this month we are celebrating, it's the champion month of the Salesforce Women's Network. Every month, each group has a dedicated month to promote awareness of what they're doing. And that's why it's appropriate that we are hosting, not only because of our values, but this month is Champion Month for the Salesforce Women's Network. And their theme actually this month is Elevating Voices, Empowering Change, which is, I think, also relevant to what we're doing today. The Salesforce Women's Network is our biggest equality group in the company. There are over 18,000 members with more than 40 hubs around the world. They're all doing events today and also this month. And as a company, our vision is to have 50% of women in leadership. So that brings me, I think, to my final point. And my final point is, what can you do? What can you do if you work in an organisation? What can you do if you involved in any type of workforce? How can you impact change in what you're doing every day? And as I said, we're fortunate we have a safe environment to do what we do, what we believe in, to be ourselves. But our CEO and co-founder, Mark Benioff, and I'll quote from him, he is a strong believer of stakeholder capitalism. And he believes, first of all, a couple of things. He believes business can be the greatest platform of change, and he believes in stakeholder capitalism. What does stakeholder capitalism mean? It's a system which has a corporate purpose based on a commitment to all stakeholders, not just shareholders. All stakeholders include customers, they include employees, they include our partner ecosystem, it includes our communities, it includes our planet, it includes our society. It's not just shareholders. We all have a commitment to all these groups. And this is part of the reason why we do all these sorts of things. Our CEO is also part of a network of other CEOs called the B Team, which is led by Paul Polman, who's the ex-CEO of Unilever. And these ex-CEOs, they're people like Richard Branson are part of this group, Paul Polman, our CEO Mark Benioff, the founder of Huffington Post, many other, Armenia Huffington is a member of the group. A lot of CEOs are part of this group. And what they do is they will often come together to issue joint statements on climate, on human rights, and other social issues which is important to the globe. And over the past year, this group has issued 2 statements which is important to Armenians. The first one was, the most recent one I should say, was they issued a joint statement calling for the release of the Armenian political prisoners who were illegally detained by Azerbaijan after the conflict in 2023, well, I shouldn't say conflict, the invasion in 2023, and have also previously issued a statement regarding humanitarian issues when Artsakh was blockaded before being invaded. So this is a very powerful group. We obviously have raised these issues directly to the highest levels of our company executive when they occur. We also have raised it with our executives in our philanthropy team of what we can do as a company, as a responsible company when these issues come about. So my message is simple. We all have a personal responsibility to raise these issues and be advocates within our own organisations. Because if you don't, no one will. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.